Have you ever wondered why sometimes you feel like the ball jumps out the rough and you gain that little bit of distance, often referred to as a flyer, and sometimes it feels like it comes out a little bit dead, a little bit dull, and you don't get the distance required? Today I'm going to be talking you through what you need to know when playing out the rough. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Branston Golf and Country Club. Today I've found myself in the rough on the left-hand side of the 17th hole, and I'm going to give myself as poor a lie as I can here. We don't have particularly long rough here at Branston because it's a very tree-lined course. If we had thick rough and trees, it would be just far too punishing. But I have found myself in rough grass, and I'll make sure I nestle that ball down as we talk about these shots. So in the intro there I mentioned sometimes you get these shots referred to as flyers, where you feel like the ball comes out hot, it goes further, and sometimes you feel like it comes out a little bit dull, a little bit dead, and you don't get the distance required. And for me, it's really the club choice and therefore the angle of attack that really affects that. So if we were using a short iron here, so let me grab a 9-iron for instance. Because I've got a shorter club in my hands, a bit more loft, I'll be creating more of a downward angle of attack. So I will be hitting downwards into the ball a little bit more, and I'll get less grass trapped between the club and the ball. Now, if that ball is settled down into the grass like that, that's a perfect example. I cannot get that ball cleanly. I cannot get the ball exactly first. I am going to get some grass trapped between the club and the ball. And if I get a little bit of grass trapped between the club and the ball, effectively it covers the grooves and we take off spin, so the ball travels a little bit further. The same thing would happen if you got wet trapped between the club and the ball. So a bit of moisture on the fairways or something like that, or a wet golf ball, it can lower your spin and the ball can go further, especially with a more lofted club in your hands. So normally for a 9-iron on a full shot, my ball's going to be spinning about 8,000 times a minute, RPM. So when I get some moisture or some grass trapped between club and the ball, I can get that ball going further because of less spin. So I can almost take a 9-iron spin more down to perhaps a 7-iron spin and gain a bit of distance. I'm going to get less grass generally trapped between club and the ball because with a shorter club, I'm going to be tilting a little bit further. I can hit down on the golf ball more and I'll get less trapped between club and the ball, and I can get that ball coming out quite hot, quite fast. If I've got a longer iron in my hands, let's say I've got a 4-iron, that club, because of the longer shaft length here and the ball generally moving a little bit more forwards in my stance, the club is going to be traveling on a flatter angle of attack as it approaches the golf ball. It's not going to be hitting down into the golf ball as much. So I'm going to get more grass trapped between the club and the ball here, and the ball just tends to come out dull and dead. So I would suggest almost, and it does depend a little bit on swing speed, but I would suggest anything 7-iron downwards into your wedges, you could start to expect that if you're getting decent enough contact there, you could get a flyer. You could get that ball coming out a little bit hot and a little bit further by taking spin off. Whereas I'd expect 6, 5, 4, 3, you're actually going to be losing distance because you're going to get more grass trapped between club and ball. So when you're using a longer club, take more club. You know, so if I'm trying to hit it a 4-iron distance, let's take a 3 or a hybrid or something a little bit further, a little bit longer. Whereas if I'm using a 9-iron for this, and I think I'm going to get a flyer because I'm going to get less grass trapped between club and the ball, go down a club, go from a 9 into a wedge. So I'd use almost your 7-iron as your marker, downwards from that into your wedges, expect that you could start to get a flyer lie. If you're using longer than that, it's going to come out a little bit dull, a little bit dead, and try and take up a club. So I've got here, I've already measured this. It's a tough shot actually I've left myself. I was just trying to find some thicker rough. I've got 190 yards, and normally for here, I would be able to land this ball on just on the edge of the green at about 185 to release 180, so I'd be using a 5-iron. I'm going to go up a club, so I'm going to go to a 4, just because I don't think, I've given myself quite a nasty lie there, just because I think this is going to come out a little bit dull, a little bit dead. And I'll talk you through the other changes I'd make. I could potentially, if you've got some hybrids, maybe even just use a hybrid there. They're sometimes a little easier to get out of the rough with that little bit more loft and a little bit more user-friendly than an iron. But all I'm going to do, I'd normally have the ball quite far up in my stance, about a club head's width inside my lead heel. So let's move that ball just sort of a ball or so further back in my stance. It's not quite middle, but move that ball a little bit further back and set a bit more pressure onto my lead side. If the rough is a little bit thick, a little bit tangly, you may even grip a little bit tighter. Now what I'm expecting here is this ball to come out a little bit shorter, but hopefully to have that little bit more run on landing. This is a tough one, because anyone who knows this hole, you've got to actually fly a ditch, some water there. So I've moved that ball a touch further back. I'm going to set a little bit more pressure onto my lead side, and I'm going to grip a little bit firmer. The other thing I've done, I've taken one more club, because I'm not expecting this to come out hot. I'm expecting it to come out a little bit dull, a little bit dead. You know, pretty happy with that contact actually. I've flown the water, I've just missed a little bit to the right hand side of the green there, but pretty good result with, you know, such a low lofted club in my hands. As mentioned there, if I was hitting something a lot shorter, so I've got a 9-iron, let's try and give myself that slightly buried lie again. I feel like here I'm still not going to get the ball cleanly, but I could get less grass trapped between club and the ball and expect to see a slightly flyer lie, so I could actually gain a little bit of distance because I get less grass trapped club to ball, and I end up hitting this 9-iron more like an 8-iron distance. This is a layup short of the water, but let me give it a go. I've done the same thing. I've moved that ball a touch further back, a little bit more pressure forwards. It'll feel like you're hitting a little bit more downward. And out of that sort of situation and lie there, you can actually gain a little bit of distance. I've actually flown straight into that ditch that I was trying to come up short of. So I gained a little bit of yardage there. I wasn't really thinking too much about distances, but gained a little bit of distance there with my 9-iron from getting a little bit of grass trapped club to ball. You've got to survey the lie. Think about, is it going to come out hot? Is it going to come out dead? Are you going to get lots of grass trapped between club and the ball, in which case it's definitely going to come out dull and dead. Up your club, or start to think about perhaps taking on a different shot, laying up. If you feel like you can get a pretty decent contact where you're only going to get a little bit of grass trapped, you're going to get that flyer lie and expect that ball to come out that little bit further because of less backspin. If that video has helped, make sure you hit the thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel for all the other videos. At least 2 a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, but some Saturday specials as well.